When we bought our A40 on eBay, it drove quite well and didn't look too bad. It came with 6 months left on the MOT and could have happily been used as a classic runaround, as long as we sorted the passenger door. However, if it was ever going to be a competitive and a safe racer, it needed to be at least as strong as a brand new car and quite a lot stiffer. We also wanted it to be a showpiece for British motor heritage and be finished to show standards, and cars competing in the HRDC Touring Great Series are required to retain the period character of their original counterparts. That meant that many of the fittings and trim had to be carefully removed, labelled, saved and replaced back into our finished car. Although some items, like the driver's seat, have to be changed in the interests of safety and drivability, as they would have been in the race cars of the period. The body was completely stripped to a basic shell and then taken to surface processing in Dudley for the paint, underseal, rust and body filler all to be removed. They did this by first immersing the shell into an alkali bath to remove paint and filler, followed by a washdown, then into an acid bath to dissolve away the rust. The result really did look like a new bare metal body shell, apart from the many holes where the rust used to be. However, we weren't too surprised by our shell's condition, considering that it's over 50 years old. The new panels that would be needed for our car were all 4 wings, inner and outer sills, floors and front and rear valances. Fortunately, Radford Panels in Leamington make all the main parts like wings and sills for the A40, and a number of other classics too. For all other areas of repair on the inner parts of the shell, we made up ourselves from sheet steel. After moving the shell into our manufacturing bay, the first job was to construct a jig to hold it true while main structural sections, like the sills and floor, were replaced. The jig was designed to pick up on the suspension mounts and include reference points for floor height. It was paramount that the jig was absolutely true and correct to the dimensions given in the workshop manual. Working from the front, all of the once rust-encrusted panels that now showed a lot of fresh air were cut out and replaced with new metal. Both the sills and most of the floor also needed to be replaced, and it is mainly for this stage that a strong jig serves the purpose of keeping the front and the back of the shell in correct alignment. Rear wheel arches and wings proved to be a greater challenge than we'd expected. For the outer wings, we kept the best of the original and replaced the rotten parts with sections cut out of the new Radford panels. A tricky bit was under the rear lights, and again, this was replaced using sections of the new panels combined with pieces fashioned from flat sheet. The whole of the boot floor was cut out and replaced, not because it was badly rusted, but as we don't need to carry a spare wheel for racing, we were able to raise the floor, making more space underneath to accommodate a larger fuel tank. The rest of the racing mods and a roll cage were installed into the shell at this stage, but all that will be the subject of a separate video. The shell now looked pretty solid, so we handed it over to Dave Cook at Kennington Motors. Dave has a lot of experience in painting classics and race cars. Dom and Jimmy went over there to help with the preparation. After filling any irregularities, painting started with a coat of chromated etch primer to suppress any rear currents of rust, followed by 2 coats of high build primer, smoothed down between each coat. After another light rubbing down, the top coats of paint were sprayed on. Finally, after a clear lacquer is applied, and when fully dry, all the paintwork is polished with a very fine rubbing compound before delivery back to British Motor Heritage. There had been much debate over the use of period colours for the A40, but in the end we chose to paint it in the Heritage team colours of Jasper Blue with Old English white for the roof. While the body shell was being painted, we were able to get on with preparing the transmission, which will be the subject of our next video.